the competition, the level of play is starting to progress as you get to intermediate, JV, and vars. So, how was playing sports in that from intermediate school to you get till you graduated?
Yeah, from Pop Warner to intermediate, that was very, it was very a new culture because you kind of now you're playing organized sports. You got to learn plays. You got to learn, it's not backyard football where it's like the quarterback's telling you, run a corner, or you're playing defense and the coach tells you just go to the ball.
Yeah.
But when the transition to intermediate, it's where like you have a job now. And I was playing outside. Went from safety. In Pop Warner I played safety, everywhere.
Yeah.
I even played O-line. And then in intermediate, they had my certain job. You have a certain job, and so that was outside linebacker. And so, I wasn't used to the ball goes to the other side. I get frustrated. Like, why isn't the ball coming to my side? Things like that. When you're young, you don't really know the game like that. Like why this and that. And so the transition was like mentally and intellectually was different. So that's what was the challenge for me going into the intermediate football as well as school. So from St. Patrick's to
Punahou.
Yes.
Yeah. So what made you? Were you put as a linebacker, or was that something that you wanted to play?
Okay. Yeah.
Or how did that play out?
So I wanted to play linebacker, of course, because when I was coming in, this was around 2008, 2009, and so the reason why I wanted to become a linebacker was because the god of linebackers at Punahou, which was Manti Te'o, the history of that. And so when I saw that as a kid, growing up from Pop Warner, you're going to Punahou games because my older brother and younger brother got into Punahou before me.
Okay.
And so I was able to watch games, being at St. Patrick's, watch Punahou games. So I would watch, Manti Te'o, my brother in JV. And so when Robbie Toma, and so I kind of, build that, sort of want to play linebacker. And so that's how I got to, be at that position.
Yes.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So for basketball and baseball, what positions did you play?
For basketball, I'm a 3 or 4, a small forward or a power forward.
In Hawaii, especially because we don't have height.
Right.
Okay. And then for baseball, what was it?
Baseball, I was a third baseman and a center fielder.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Which was your favorite sport?
My favorite sport
growing up. Time. Yeah.
Growing up, I would say basketball.
Okay.
Because, I was really good. Well, I was like really good in middle school.
Okay.
Because I was, I got my growth spurt. I went from 5'3" to 5'8".
Okay.
From 6th grade to 7th grade.
Yeah.
And so I kind of seen a change in like athletically, and athletically I'm taller, and I'm like, much more rangy than other kids, and so I was able to, in basketball, where the same teammates that I had in football were actually not my teammates in basketball. They ended up being my rivals.
Okay.
Because I played for my family club in basketball.
Got it.
So the Punahou kids were always, playing for Honolulu Sharks or OTB, where there are different clubs that they play together. And so, kind of having that, being Hawaii, you kind of see everybody every day. And so,
yeah. So that's interesting because I didn't even know that you played baseball for one.
Right,
that's not really what most people I think know you for because of your success in football.
Mm-hmm.
So when did that shift, I guess? I'm going to throw more focus into football. Was there a time or a year where that clicked for you?
Yes. I got to thank my parents, of course. My mom, so going into the 9th grade, I went to an all-poly camp here in Hawaii. And so when I went to this all-poly camp, I've seen like many stars who I've been watching since growing up. Okay. And you kind of, when I'm in 9th grade, you're kind of like, these people, I'm playing against my brother. Okay. I'm playing against people that are 3 years older than me that I've watched, and now I'm like actually on the field with them. And I'm actually practicing with them in this camp. And so that kind of, inspired me, because, watching people play one-on-one, getting competitive, they're having that competitive edge against one another. And so that's where it, all began, to start focusing on football. And so,
what year was that? I mean, like, what
This-
year in school? Were you a freshman?
oh yes, I was a freshman in high school.
Freshman.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I was not a football player, just a football player until it was coming around that time
Got it.
where I'm starting to realize that I'm a football player.
Got it. So at that point, was a lot more focused training for football, or was it still just like when football season comes, all football? When basketball season comes, all basketball. Was it,
Yes.
or was it still like in the back of your mind, you're thinking like, yeah, I gotta get ready for next football season.
Okay. So that's what's interesting. So coming up to ninth grade, it started with my parents putting me into training,
Okay.
but it wasn't a specific sport training. It was like tactical, strength and
Okay.
conditioning. And
Yeah.
so we were kind of being trained to be athletes.
Mhm.
And so my mom, knowing, she knows that, I'm pretty short. So, compared to other people that, play my position in football. And so she knew that, other sports has to be another avenue, to be, a better athlete. And so, I've also trained for baseball and basketball at strength and conditioning, tactical strength and conditioning. And so there was never a focus on football until my junior year.
Okay.
When we realized, you get starting to get recruiting.
Got it.
So, there was always cross training where, like what you said, we jump into this sport
Yeah.
and we just play,
Yeah.
and I was used to it because when I was younger, what I was saying, I was growing up, my uncle would be like, oh, like we have football practice. And then after football practice, we have basketball practice.
Yeah.
And then the next day, since, there's no football, like on Sundays,
Yeah.
there's no football or basketball, and then we play baseball. And so it's it's a cycle.
Yeah.
And so
just constantly bouncing around.
and so I was used to it.
Yeah.
And so when it came to that moment where it's like,
Yeah.
it's where now it's school is related now. It's
Mhm.
being a student athlete now.
Yeah.
And I got used to it already. And so
Got it.
it was no problem for me. No problem in transition for me.
Yeah.
And so I've met many athletes around here in Hawaii.
Yeah, it's kind of, you see, especially I think part of it is just the weather, and we can be outside year round, right? So then you constantly see people, if you're active, I think you're just going to bounce from sport to sport to sport,
Yeah.
which is actually good because you get a lot of motor development, coordination, all of that.